Hello pilots, my name's James and I am one of the internet's foremost experts on aviation English. Now, as you know, one of the most important things you need to be able to do as a professional pilot is correctly describe a photo. So in this video, I'm going to show you a small extract from our super duper ICAO level 7 champagne caviar naked sauna gold plated photo package, which you can find at lingero.com/naked. Photo description level 6 mastery, stage 1. This photo shows a marvelous white aeroplane set against a fantastic blue sky. In the foreground, we can see a little truck with 2 little trailers, and in the background, we can see the nose of a Boeing 777. A magnificent roaring fire is emanating from the center of the aircraft, while a cloud of thick black smoke billows aloft. So with that fantastic lesson, which is available on OnlyFans for €25 per 30 minutes access, I've just guaranteed you a level 6. Or perhaps not, because if you hadn't already guessed, I was only joking. But what I was giving you there was an example of something called negative backwash. Now, what is negative backwash? Negative backwash is when a particularly necessary test becomes the subject of very intensive revision, or what we would sometimes call cramming. And essentially what happens is that the focus of the training is on specific exercises in a given test, rather than actually trying to improve your level of English. Now, if you go searching on the internet and you type ELP test or ICAO test, or in Europe, for example, FCL055 test training, a lot of what you will find will be fixed packages of a certain number of hours of training with a test at the end of it. And some sites even guarantee that if you do a certain amount of hours, you will definitely get a certain level. Now, if we work on the basis of negative backwash, the ability to guarantee a certain level just through a certain type of cramming really discredits the test in question. That being said, there is something to be said for a few hours preparation before taking a particular exam, but I would term that more as exam familiarization or exam technique, because when you pass any kind of language exam, there is always a certain technique to adopt in order to satisfy the general level of competence that the examiners are looking for. And there's no harm in that whatsoever. Preparing for a certain test using previous mock tests just to see the format of the exam is perfectly fine. But focusing too much on just one exercise or on the act of doing the exercise rather than what that exercise is trying to test can be very counterproductive. So if we come back to the photo I showed at the beginning of the video, I gave a very nice literary, poetic description of the photo. But the question I have to ask myself is, would I ever need to say things like that in a cockpit? If I was the captain of this aircraft that's on fire on the ground, what would I actually need to say? So rather than giving flowery descriptions of everything around the aircraft, it's important to understand when we do a photo description exercise in a test, in any case in a serious aviation English test, we're not interested in your ability to describe a photo, but simply the vocabulary that goes with it and the way that you phrase things. So let's go back to this particular photo. I can imagine the things I might say if I was a captain. So obviously, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get onto the PA and I'm going to say, this is the captain, evacuate, evacuate. Then I'm going to say to ATC, mayday, 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 we are evacuating on the runway. And I might say also, the aircraft is on fire. Now, do I really need to use lots of flowery language to say that the aircraft is on fire when it's blatantly obvious to anybody who can see that the aircraft is on fire? I don't think so. This is not only the fault of negative backwash, it's also partly the fault of ICAO descriptors, which talk about idiomatic language. And if we take that to its extreme, we can end up with what I gave you at the beginning of this video. So a question I get asked quite often is, why don't you sell a proper e-learning package with photo description exercises in it? Well, at Lingero, to be perfectly honest, we know we don't need to, because if we were to sell you a photo description package, it would not show you anything that you can't find for free by yourself on the internet anyway. So I would not feel honest doing it. and it would be a waste of everybody's time, which again comes back to the question of the difference between improving your English generally, and particularly for aviation, and practicing for a certain exam. So if you really want to improve your aviation English, what you need to do is be proactive. Find examples of things yourself and be inquisitive. So go onto Google and just type aircraft on fire, and you will find thousands of photos of aircraft on fire. And rather than practicing describing the photo in the foreground, in the background, on the left, on the right, there's a blue sky, the trees are green, etc., etc., think about what the operational discourse would be in that particular photo. So thank you folks for watching this video again. If you do need to take an EASA ELP exam, if you're training for an EASA license, or you are converting your UK license to an EASA license, then we can also provide the ELP certification that you need for that process. Hope you found this video useful. It's always fun to make them. It's always fun to listen to people's feedback, to get your messages, comments, etc. Safe flights to all, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.